everyone, Wayne Levy here, and I'm with my good friend and fellow bald mate, Kim Bramer. Where are you, Kim?
Jakarta, it's just absolutely unbelievable out there. I mean, there you can't see a blue sky, but it's out there.
Jakarta, Indonesia.
Jakarta, Indonesia.
Wow, I'm here in Melbourne, Australia. I'm rugged up. It's freezing. It's like 5 degrees. What have you got over there at the moment?
Well, here in my hotel room, it's 21 degrees or 23 degrees, but outside, I think it's 30 something anyway, and it's hot and humid, and it's
Magnificent. It's magnificent. And I know that you're in Indonesia, not on holiday. I know you're out there working. I know you're out there meeting people, expanding your existing business, creating new business for yourself and Mariana, your wife. And, I know, Kim, a lot of the stuff that you do personally revolves around finding the right person that was going to add value to your project. And, on Two Bald Men, I want to discuss something that's really important. And I just want you to pick up on this thread. There's a difference between someone who's tired versus someone who's lazy. I mean, often people come into our lives and you look at them and you think, oh my goodness, I'm so tired. But the reality is they're just not on purpose. They haven't found a direction in their life. And often they really, make an excuse that they're tired when the reality is they're just not excited about a project or a direction or a purpose in their life. And I think most people, I've never met a tired person who's excited about doing something. You know what I mean? I've never met someone who's, endorphins and dopamine level is just so low, but when they're excited about fulfilling a goal for themselves. So, it's a really interesting topic. And Kim, I know that you're very big on making sure people get on purpose with setting goals so they have some direction in their life. Otherwise, why would someone be just sitting around and not knowing what to do? And then obviously they just pretend that they're busy and they're often just tired.
Yeah, whether it be tired, it's I don't know whether that's the reason. Sometimes when people are tired, it's because they maybe don't have enough energy, good enough nutrition. They're not looking after themselves. They're not actually moving. They're not doing some of those things that they need to do. But it is important to have a purpose. It needs, it's written in the good book, those without a vision or those without, are dead. So, you really got to have some sort of vision, some sort of goal, some sort of purpose that you need to have. But you also need to understand the laws of nature. I think it really comes from Newton's first law, as that the law of inertia. An object at rest will stay at rest unless it's acted on by another force. So, objects in motion tend to stay in motion unless something stops them. Put another way, a couch potato tends to stay a couch potato because he's not moving unless something causes him to move or causes them to do something. And like I've got a vision of what I want to achieve here in Indonesia, and a lot of times, there I actually have to force myself to push myself to get into some form of action. And I think
Yeah,
everybody has to.
I think so. I mean, innately, if you're excited about something, you'll get up and trying to achieve that goal. I love what you've always said to me. I visualize this, but you say it better than me. You know, a table with a piece of string on it, and you try to push it versus pulling it, and it just curls up. Just try to explain that to me again.
Yeah, it's sort of like you know, when you're communicating with people, you can't push them. It's like a piece of string. You can't push. If you push a piece of string, what happens? It crinkles up, and you can't push it. The only way that you can move that string is to pull it, and that's by asking good questions. You need to be asking people, not trying to pitch them, not trying to sell them. You need to be really asking some good questions, and for them to be moving to where your purpose is to help them, achieve their goals.
Right. Yeah, and that's really interesting. So I suppose if you ask the right questions, you'll inspire someone to say, "All right, I'll get off my backside and I'll get on with it. Just show me the way." So a lot of people are out there are looking for direction, I suppose, as well. Otherwise, they'll hear all the noise and they'll do things, and that's probably not what they want to do, and therefore they're not going to be inspired to do it for a long time. Or maybe they'll start and they'll stop and they'll end up going back to exactly where they were. And a lot of people are like that, maybe with even dieting. I know you mentioned that, they start things looking for quick fixes and can't sustain it because they don't have the right coach or don't have the right program or don't see the results quick enough to make them move forward. And I think that's also in business as well, Kim. You don't want to make, you want to align yourself with someone who's really competent and has strong focus and can help you make money quickly, albeit that it's just not the end result, but you can see measurable progress in a reasonable amount of time. So I think, a lot of these things that we are talking about is having the right people around you as well, good mentors.
Yeah, good mentors, and just be understanding that you can't make anybody do anything. Really, it's got to be them that want to do it. So that sometimes means that you maybe have to go through go through a number of people. You have to ask enough people. It's like that old Sinaloa. Safety in numbers. You've got to go through because the reality is that there are people that I want to be the CEO. I want to be, but they're not willing to put the work in. They're not willing to work harder on themselves. They're not willing to learn the skills that is needed for them to achieve their goals.
Yeah,
And
the pipe dreamers. These guys are out there dreaming about wanting to do something and looking for that instant gratification and not
yeah,
willing to go through the change. Yeah, a lot of
I,
people
look,
like.
I think that you really got to. Small little movements will get people to change, small, do one little thing that will actually affect a lot of other things. So, if somebody wants to get fit, no point in going and hey, I'm going to, walk 10,000 steps today if they haven't ever done that before, go and walk around the block, just do that once and just move it a little bit further each time until you start to enjoy some of those things. And for me, I like walking. I like walking, but I also like listening to different podcasts and different people or audio books. And that's sometimes the time that I have to me, where I can be. I'm doing two things at once. Like I'm listening and then at the same time, I'm automatically making those steps that I
And
need to.
developing good habits and everything like that. So again, Kim, just to wrap up this little session that I'm having with you, laziness versus someone who's got goals and directions. I don't think anyone's inherently lazy. I think the reality is there's just not enough cause for them to make an effect to do something. They haven't found their way in life. I mean, at the end of the day, to make a crude analogy, if you're sitting at home and your house is on fire, even though you're overweight and even though you're tired, you're not going to be lazy unless you're mad. You want to get out of there. You're going to move. You're going to get into a safer environment. And sometimes you have to be, I suppose, and that's a silly analogy, but sometimes you have to be at that point of desperation before you do make a move as well, don't you? You're like, things have to be that dramatic. You say, well, I'm going to make a change. I've got to do something. It could be a heart attack because you're overweight. It could be you're flat broken. You need an opportunity. You could be just sitting there lonely and you're looking for a community, looking for companionship, and just need to change your demeanor, break some old habits, become a new you. Sometimes you have to hit a place of desperation.
Yeah, so that you can start asking the questions. It's like I'm here, I'm kissing enough frogs to find a prince. I won't forget all the frogs that I've kissed. They may be a prince, but they've been hanging around too many frogs and they think they're a frog when they're really a prince. And that's sometimes many of the people, they've got to look at who they're hanging around, who is affecting them, and maybe they just have to change that group that will then change the things that they need to become. But this is a big subject. This is like how long is a piece of string? So we could be talking about this same subject continuing on for days.
Yeah, we can unpack a lot here. Let's just wrap it up and we'll catch up with everyone real soon. Great, Kim. Speak to you soon, my friend.
Okay, bye for now.